Ladislav Guardian Kovacs is a true Counter-Strike legend and one of the most important players in the history of CSGO. We got so used to seeing this happy-go-lucky guy get into the top 20 every year, but then it was like he suddenly fell off the face of the earth. Tilt, laziness, hate, the reasons behind his disappearance are an active and contentious discussion to this day. So what did happen to Guardian, and why did his Tier 1 career end so abruptly? Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, because you're watching CYBERSHOKE, and today we're going to tell you the story of Guardian. Guardian started playing professionally in CS 1.6, but due to the lack of tournaments in Slovakia, he switched to CS Source. Generally, Ladislav played in local teams, but in 2009 he won a lot of trophies with the team Reason Gaming. The transition to CSGO was difficult for him. His results were bad, and in 4 months, Guardian switched to 3 different teams, until he was invited to the CIS Virtus Pro roster. There, Ladislav stayed for only a month, but he showed the world that he was able to play on a Tier 1 level. Although his skill was very high, Guardian couldn't find a team for 5 months after leaving Virtus Pro. Obviously, he received a lot of offers, but firstly, they came from relatively weak teams, and secondly, he kinda wanted to gather his own roster with Styka. At that time, he often popped up on HLTV. For instance, he was a stand-in for Astana Dragons, took part in the European Championship, and played on the 8th season of Star Series with his mix Nostalgia. The BYOC qualifiers for the very first CSGO major, DreamHack Winter 2013, was the breaking point for Guardian. He went there with Nostalgia, and Edward was standing in for Oscar. The guys finished in 3rd and 4th place, losing the game and therefore a spot in the main event. On that major, it also became clear that NAVI was hurting badly by the departure of Edward and Markelov. Finishing in last place, they decided to make 2 replacements. They took back Edward, who realized that his decision to leave NAVI was a mistake, and also invited Guardian to play op. On December 9th, 2013, Ladislav officially became a member of NAVI. Russian-speaking NAVI didn't have any problems with signing a Slovakian player because Guardian already proved his worth while playing for Virtus Pro. Also, Edward confirmed that Ladislav perfectly understood Russian, even though his speaking skills were subpar. They agreed that Zeus would continue to make calls in Russian so that Ladislav could learn to adapt to this language as fast as possible. And it worked. After their very first tournament, Guardian said that he understood 90% of what his teammates were speaking. There were only 2 tournaments until the end of the year: Fragbite Masters, where NAVI finished in 8th place, and the LAN finals of the 8th season of Star Series in the legendary Kyiv Cybersport Arena. There, they took 2nd place, losing only to, again, who will later become Virtus Pro. What surprises us the most about this is the fact that even though Guardian was playing without a team for 5 whole months in 2013, he still made it to the top 10 best players by HLTV that year. The next year, 2014, went pretty well for NAVI. They took 16th place in the first major, 8th in the second, then made it to the semi-finals on the 3rd. In addition, they won the 9th season of Star Series, comparable to the ESL Pro League, and made it to the grand finals on 3 big LANs. Judging by an interview, Guardian was happy about how things were going in NAVI. He said that team play and brotherhood were their strongest traits. Ladislav made a big effort in improving his Russian, and he ended up becoming the 11th best player of the year. Another year later, in 2015, NAVI had a somewhat controversial start. They only got 8th place in the Katowice major, and finally came to the realization that they needed a full-time coach. So Starix pressed pause on his pro player career and became their coach, allowing his team to sign young and talented Flamie. With the addition of Flamie, Guardian started to feel more freedom on the server. Starix didn't do anything wrong, but Flamie's playstyle was just a lot more comfortable for Ladislav. Igor dropped a ton of frags and created a lot of space, the very thing that CSGO oppers so desperately need. So yeah, that helped. Besides 4 big trophies that year, NAVI also made it to the major grand final. If only they didn't lose that first map. You could say that 2015 was the best year in Guardian's whole career. Valve just nerfed the op, and so aggressive snipers like Kenny S or JW suffered badly from that. But Ladislav played very passively, so in a way, for him, that nerf was actually a good thing. NAVI managed to show great results that year, and Guardian became the 2nd best player in 2015, finishing it with a 1.27 KD. What's so surprising here is that he still wanted to switch to professional Dota. But in 2016, NAVI faced some big problems. They lost a lot of big grand finals, and even got got the nickname second place team. In Columbus, they made it to the final, but in Cologne, they got eliminated in the top 8. The players decided that their problem was probably Zeus. Ladislav always said that Zeus was the best captain he had ever played with, but Danilo just switched his priorities from CSGO to business and started to play poorly. Seized had to take an IGL role, and even the signing of Simple couldn't save them from becoming a pretty weak team. For one moment, they were even close to dropping down to the Tier 2 level. NAVI was trying to solve this problem the whole year. For instance, they made Guardian, quote, the leader who will create discipline, and also signed Andy as an analyst. But it was all to no effect. After a huge fail in Krakow, NAVI put Seized and Guardian on the bench. The team was exhausted and frustrated. After some losses, Ladislav said, "We didn't understand what we were doing that 15 rounds. It was complete chaos." Just 1 week later, Guardian switched over to a different team, FaZe. It happened in August 2017. The best description of that daring move came from Thorin. Guardian isn't just some talented and experienced sniper. He's that sort of player who can turn the game around 180 degrees all by himself. His opponents always need to change their positions and adapt to his playstyle, or otherwise they'll lose. Alu just couldn't provide something like that. Ladislav was a great fit for FaZe. After signing Guardian in August, they made it to #1 in HLTV ratings by December, winning 3 big LANs and becoming the main favorites to win the upcoming major. And Guardian himself, despite a poor start to the year in NAVI, ended up becoming the 9th best player of 2017. But little did he know that he was just about to suffer the most painful loss of his entire career. As we already mentioned, FaZe were the main favorites to win the Boston Major, and they proved it on their way to the Grand Finals. FaZe finished the group stage with a 3-0 score and didn't lose a single map during the top 8 and top 4. The final stage began with FaZe beating Cloud9 on their own map choice. It looked like it was going to be an easy victory on the major, but then something went wrong on FaZe's choice, Overpass, and then
can he do it again? He's been in this position before to win FaZe around a very important, very crucial one. Can he deny Cloud9? We saw it from this position before. He cannot miss a single shot. Guardian waits patiently as Cloud9 sets the push up. Oh, it's happened! They made it work! Cloud9 are your E-League Major champions!
But luckily, that hiccup didn't break the team's spirits, and Guardian still felt very good with his teammates. It was easy in FaZe Clan from the very first training session. In a team like that, every player can win the round even when something went wrong in the beginning. You can do whatever you like. Even if you're an opper and you want to play aggressively, no one would tell you what to do. It is very easy for me. You just trust everyone, and thus play more freely. At that time, FaZe even managed to make a mini era for themselves, when from November 2017 till April 2018, they were the best, sometimes second best team in the world. The team was so strong that they even managed to win the IEM in Sydney, playing there with the stand-in. But going into the second half of the year, things started to come crashing down. FaZe was getting eliminated from one tournament after another and only took 8th place in the major in London. It might be worth mentioning that there were some rumors that they had a bad feeling about Kerrigan for a long time. For example, in London, they made Nico their IGL in the middle of the tournament. So it's no wonder that by the end of the year, FaZe said goodbye to their Danish captain. You could say that it was that moment when Guardian's career started to crumble. He made it into the top 10 of best players for the last time. And though FaZe won 2 big LANs in the first half of 2019, they had so many problems with finding a perfect player that in September, they decided to kick Guardian. To be more accurate, it wasn't really a kick, but rather a transfer. Ladislav decided to reunite with NAVI, but he only lasted 4 months there, and a very tough 4 months it was for everyone. For the fans, the team, and Ladislav himself. No one really knows why, but Guardian just didn't fit in with the roster. For example, in October, he played his worst tournament in 4 years. Just think about it. NAVI consciously asked Simple to become a rifler and gave an op to Guardian. But in reality, Sasha often had to play the sniper role because because Ladislav just couldn't deliver enough frags. By the end of January, our hero was benched, and NAVI decided that they would never toy around with the idea of taking the op away from Simple again. Ladislav performed so badly stats-wise that no top-tier team even had the slightest amount of interest in signing him anymore. But how did this happen? Before joining NAVI, he played test games with them and everything was fine. So why did he play so poorly in the official tournaments? Well, it's likely that the problem was hiding within the atmosphere of the team. Even in 2016, Guardian said that his main motivation is trust from his teammates. It's obvious that NAVI didn't really trust him when he joined the team again, so he just couldn't reveal his true potential. So what happened to Guardian after that? We can describe that with just one fact. He left NAVI in January 2020, more than 3 years ago now, and this time won just one tournament, ISEA Cash Cup. He gathered mixes, joined some Tier 3 teams, played lots of Face It, and sincerely tried to get back to the top tier level, but to no avail. Later, Ladislav admitted that his transfer to NAVI was a mistake. He pointed out that the team itself wasn't the problem, but it was he who was hugely exhausted. He regrets that instead of taking a little break, he moved to another Tier 1 team. It's worth mentioning that for some time, Guardian played in the Czech team SAPI, and his main achievement there was weight loss. No, really, check out how he looked before joining SAPI, and now after a few months later. Great job. Guardian is a fascinating player. He made it to the top 20 for 6 consecutive years, played 3 major finals, speaks 5 languages, managed to lose a whole lot of weight, and still continues to develop the Slovakian CSGO scene. It's a shame that his career ended so quickly and painfully, but he certainly left his mark on CSGO history regardless. What do you think? Could Ladislav have stayed on the Tier 1 scene for just a little longer had he not joined NAVI back then? Let's chat about it in the comments. And of course, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe because you are watching CYBERSHOKE. Bye for now.